Welcome everyone to another episode of Tips from My Garage. My name is Lisiate Tonga. I'm a recovering addict, the father of two boys, husband to a beautiful wife, and owner of online business Upgrade Version U.0, and author of ebook Q&A Between Two Addicts. And today I want to talk to you all about where you're hanging out. Now, recently I've talked a lot about the people that you're hanging around and how they influence you and how they impact your life and how you are the sum of the five closest people that you have in your life. I've gone into depth about what that looks like and what the harms are and the consequences of hanging around with people that are toxic for you and that don't belong in your life. Well, today I want to take some time to talk to you all about the places that you're hanging around. And the places that you hang around also impact your life in a significant way. And so where you spend your time is just as important as the people that you're spending it with. And so I want you to take some time now to think about all the places that you frequent. If you look at your life in a week, on a week by week basis, and you think about all the places that you frequent and that you hang out, because we're gonna discuss those places and also, more importantly, whether they're good for you or whether they're not good for you. And so I want to take a little insert from my blog spot. And I don't know if you had a chance yet to have a look at the blog spot, but the blog that I'm talking about specifically is called "Where Are You Hanging Out?" And so I write in there, your environment is as influential, if not more, if it's providing your favorite poisons and is conducive to poor decision making. Uh, if this is where you are and frequently, then you are definitely in the wrong place and need to find somewhere else to spend your time. And so I want you to think about that for a minute and the places that you're hanging out and start to categorize them. Well, first of all, what those places are offering you, what you're doing there. What is the purpose of you going to these places? Is it to hang out with friends? Is it to indulge in your vices? Is it to drink and get drunk? Is it to party? Is it to do drugs? Is it to or is it to do something productive for yourself, to further yourself, to grow yourself, to improve yourself? So I want to discuss those places. And what I want to give you first up or first off the bat is a little warning. Do not fall into the trap of thinking that you have enough strength or willpower to withstand temptation. I think we all fall into this or have fallen for this trap at one point or another in our lives. And if you think about the situations where you may have been put uh, in that have tested your willpower, and think about whether that was a choice that you could have, well, it was a choice that you made, but could you have made a better choice in the moment? And would that have been a better choice or a better thing to do? And I remember two instances, and I guess I want to talk to you. I want to share with you these two different instances. One of them is more so a circumstance that I was always putting myself into. Even though I wanted to get better, I wanted to heal, I wanted to improve myself, I wanted to break my bad habits, my addictions. I was still hung up on going to the places where I would where I would partake or where I would indulge my vices. And looking back on it now, I think that or I believe that it was because the reason that I went back to these places because I was so attached to them already. They were already part of my routine, but also because I didn't have another choice, or I hadn't planned for anything else. And so I didn't have alternatives. And because I didn't have alternatives, it almost seemed like this is it. These are the only options, or these are the only choices that I have. And more importantly than that, it was because they also were places that my friends were hanging out. The people that I wanted to be with were hanging out there, and so I wanted to be there because they were there. The problem with that, though, is that when I would go to bars or when I would go to clubs and these places, when I was trying to redirect my path and go on another journey, was that it offered all of the vices that I had. And so often I would be caught in a place where I would just sit and stare at the bar and watch the bartender pour my favorite drinks and then offer them to everybody else except for me. And that really hurt me. It was painful because I had this pining. I desperately wanted to be a part of it. It made me feel lonely that I wasn't partaking, because then I couldn't be on the same level as everyone else. So it made me feel even more removed from my peers, from my identity, from who I thought that I was. And even though that was the aim, it was still painful. I didn't like that feeling. It was a yearning that my it was like my heart was yearning to be a part of it. And I had these emotional pangs that were painful. A couple of hours seemed like an eternity. And all I would do is sit there and stare at my friends enjoying themselves, having a good time, and then just stare at the bar and watch the bartenders pouring drinks for everybody else except for me, and everyone's smoking and everyone is doing drugs, and here I am trying to put on this fake sort of image that I thought I was, I didn't know if I was trying to impress anybody with it. It was just a stark contrast to what was happening around me. It was like I was a sore thumb. That's how I felt, like a sore thumb, like just hanging out there, for everybody to see. And I'd have this fake smile on my face with this, look at me, I'm sort of unique in this sort of way. I'm not doing what everybody else is doing. I wasn't trying to show anything off. That's just how I felt, and that's just how I felt like I was being perceived by everyone else around me. I just felt like I was so, like a round peg in a square hole trying to fit in. And every time that I did that, it was painful. And so I came into that circumstance numerous times because I still wanted to be around the people that um, I was connected to. Even though I didn't want to partake, I was still being influenced by that. And the other thing I remember was, I after I had sustained sobriety for an extended period of time, what I had done was I thought that I had gained enough willpower or strength to be able to go back into this environment and then to test myself, not deliberately to test myself, because I didn't go with the intention to partake or to get drunk or to do drugs or to do anything like that. I just went to be a part of it because it was a birthday party that I had been invited to, and I was being supportive. And I thought, look, I want to support them, and so I want to be there, but I'm just not going to participate in all the shenanigans. And so I thought that after a period of time of being sober, that I could actually do this. And so I went to this party, and once again, I was sticking out like a sore thumb, or so I felt like myself. I was perceiving myself to be a sore thumb. I just wasn't feeling connected to anybody. It was feeling awkward for me because I couldn't be on the same level as everybody else. And so, and also at the same time, I was pining for for a drink or for something. And inside of my head, I was battling it out, saying, oh, look, I can just do one. If one doesn't mean that I'm going to throw the towel in, and I can handle that. I'm here. I've done so well so far. I've been sober for this amount of months. I can do this. I can handle one drink, and that'll just be that. I really just want to take the edge off, so I can kind of feel more connected to my surroundings and the people that I'm with. And so, what did I do? I had a drink, and then I had another drink, and then I had another drink, and next thing I know, it's 4:30 in the morning, and I'm driving around drunk. Still going in from trying to find different bars and clubs to get into this late in the morning. I end up back at home 6 o'clock in the morning after a night of just getting absolutely plastered. And I remember the next morning being a Sunday, and I had this plan to go to church, and I had all these things that I had to do, and I wasn't feeling any of that. And I was feeling the guilt and the shame and all the failure feelings that I was experiencing at the time because I had let myself down. It kind of just all collapsed on top of my head. It was like a mountain was, had fallen on me, and I just it was the worst feeling that I ever had, was the feeling that I had relapsed. And so I guess the moral of this story is that it is to not put yourself in the situation where you have to make a decision. The best thing that you can do for yourself is to prevent yourself from making a decision in the first place. And the way that you prevent yourself from making this decision in the first place is by making a decision to not put yourself in those situations where you have to make that decision. Don't go to these places. Don't 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 put yourself in a place where it's going to back you into a corner and force you to make a decision. The other thing is don't think that you're strong enough, you have enough willpower to withstand temptation. Prevention is always going to be the best policy. Not putting yourself in a situation where you have to make a decision is going to be the best thing or the best decision for you to make. I've been sober since 2013, but I don't get complacent. And I'm conscious about where I'm at and where I put myself. So I'm deliberately not putting myself in situations where I have to make a decision whether or not to partake. If right now, today, and so 2013, I've been 12 years sober now. If I was to start going to a bar, just say once a week on a Friday night, consistently, just once a week, and with no intention to partake, I know that eventually I'm going to fold. And the same is going to be true for you. If you continually put yourself in a situation where you have to use your willpower consistently, you're eventually going to wear your willpower down until you succumb succumb to your natural tendencies and compromise your values and your standards. It is not going to matter how long you've had sobriety for. You can be broken down. I think having that mentality has really helped me to sustain my sobriety. I don't believe that I'm bulletproof. I believe that making a decision of prevention is better than putting myself in a situation where I have to exercise my willpower. But this is all going to come down to how well you can integrate yourself into another lifestyle, and how and what sort of alternative options that you're going to provide yourself that are going to take you away from these places. And so the last thing I want to share with you is this. Just like I suggested to make a list of the pros and cons of the people in your life, to be able to call the people in your life so that you keep the good ones and you get rid of the bad ones. You need to do the same for your the places that you hang out. So what I would suggest that you do is to make another list. Make a list of all the places that you go to, and make a for good and for worse list, and put all the places that you hang out with that are wholesome, that are good for you on the one side, and the places you know that are bad for you on the worst list. And then you will know where you should be and where you shouldn't be. And that should give you some idea of what needs to the places that you need to stop going. And if you don't have anywhere else to go, and I had mentioned this earlier, I feel like the reason that I had continued to go back to the same places, even though I knew that they weren't good for me, was because I, at the time, didn't have any other options, or I didn't know where else I could go. I didn't have any alternatives planned out, and I didn't have other people to hang out with. And I only had my closest circle of friends and influences, and that's who I wanted to be with. And I didn't have any alternatives, and so it compelled me to only participate in these places with these people. It was either that or be alone. And there's only so much alone time that you can have before you want to have connection, before you want to be around people. And so it is very important for you to not only find out the places that you can go to and the places that you can't go to, but also to create another list of places that you can go and should go. And I'll give you examples of places that are going to be good for you to go to. The gym is going to be a great place. The gym is a place that you can go, or some kind of a sporting center, or some kind of joining a sports club of a sports or one thing or another, where you're committed to going on a regular basis. This is going to be helpful because it is a place it's going to take time up in your week, and it's going to have a positive influence and impact on your life. And you need that. You need that for all kinds of reasons. But fitness and taking care of your body is a really is huge. Is Your health is your wealth. The more you're healthy, the longer you're going to live, and that's just scientifically proven. But the gym, anything to do with physical fitness, is going to be good for you. The other thing is that's going to be good for you is going to church. Is going to be a good place to go to. You meet people at church that will influence your life for the better. You get spiritual upliftment, and this is something you can commit to on a regular basis that will also take up time, because apart from going just on the Sundays, you have You have different sort of activities throughout the week that you can commit to as well, that take up time, that put you into places where you're surrounded by people that you should be around. So those are good places to be around. Libraries are good places to be around. Nature is a great place to be around. Going out in nature and just being one with nature is hugely therapeutic. It's, for me, being out in nature is one of the places where I feel the most connected to God. It's the place where I feel like where the noise of your everyday life is gone, and you can be at one with nature, which is really being at one with God, and you can focus on those things. You can focus on God's creation. Because for me, I'm in nature. I look at the beauty of the trees, the ocean, the rivers, the animals. All of these things that are in nature were created for you to enjoy, but also to let you know that there really is a God. Like, how else can these things be created? And for me, I feel more love in nature. I feel God's love in nature because He has provided this beauty for me to enjoy, because He loves me. And this is a sort of spiritual moments or events or scenarios that you can create for yourself quite simply. Like, it doesn't cost you any money. You can just go by yourself or take others with you. But nature, being out in nature, is one of the best ways for you to heal yourself and to get closer to God. And it's also great for physical fitness if you want to go hiking, skiing, um, running. Just being outdoors is great. It's going to be good for you physically. It's going to be good for your soul, and it's going to be healing and therapeutic. And so, I mean, you could put a make a sit down and make a list of all the places that you don't have on your list of places that you should be, and just be creative with that. If you're single and you're trying to look for a partner, then you want to be around other single people that are like-minded. So maybe that's a singles group that meet at a cafe, or that there are single people events that are taking place. There are also single people sober groups that you can become a part of, that congregate frequently, where you can meet other people that are on the same journey that you are, and meet people that are like you, that are going to be good for you. But you need to create another list of places that you should be going to, or you should be frequenting frequently. And these places that I'm talking about aren't just places that you should be attending once in a while. You have to really immerse yourself in these new places, or in this new lifestyle, and that is really what's going to make the difference. You can actually make a list of however many places, and they could be just amazing places that you should be in, you should go to. But there's a difference between just attending it or going there once in a while, and also immersing yourself in what the purpose of these places are, because that's what's really going to make the difference. You have to immerse yourself in the purposes of these different places that you can be, for you to be able to leave the one that's been toxic for you, the one that you have been currently living, that is that's bringing you down, that is causing all the grief that you have in your life. You're very grounded in the lifestyle and the places and the people that you're at now, and you have to find a way to be able to break free from that. And the only way you can do that is by providing yourself with an alternative, and then immersing yourself into that new lifestyle, into those new places, into those new people, because that is what's going to pull you pull you away from what you are currently doing. Because the more consistently that you can be in an environment that is helpful, that's helping you to grow, to progress physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, the more strength that you're going to have to be able to pull yourself away from what doesn't belong in your life. And it's eventually going to work. It's eventually going to pull you out of where you currently are, and you are then going to be free from what you were involved with or had before, and it's going to give you a better life. And that doesn't necessarily mean that even these people aren't going to be in your life anymore, or you can't go back to these places anymore. And what you should say to yourself is that, look, indefinitely I'm not coming back to these places, or indefinitely I have to separate myself from these people. You're not saying I'm never going to be around you again, or I'm never going to go to these places. You're just saying that for the moment, while you're on this journey, you are indefinite. You don't know how long you're going to be, how long it's going to take for you to get yourself right. But you're not closing the door to any of that stuff, but you are starting another journey, and you're trying to find a better way to live your life. And what you will eventually come to find is that those things that don't belong in your life are just going to fall by the wayside anyway. And even though your heart may yearn for those things now, eventually your heart is going to heal, and your heart is going to know what is actually good for you and what's not. And you're kind of blinded by that now, because you your your vices have hooks in you, and they don't want you to break free from what you've known for however long it's been since you've been in that lifestyle. And so I hope that is helpful. You need to get rid of the bad people in your life. You need to stop going to the bad places that you've been frequenting. But you can't just remove those people and those places from your life effectively without having some new people, some new a new support network, a new circle of influence, and different places that are going to provide you with better opportunities and a better life. You have to have that alternative there. If you don't have those alternatives there, if you don't plan for it, the chances of you redirecting yourself back into your old life are much greater. You've got to have an alternative for the things that you're getting rid of in your life. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you on the next one. 1,